So that's what we're looking at. It says, hey, we need to add an NL first, and we need to add an NL count. It's up to you to decide which one's which. So the first thing I want to do is add my salesperson name. So I'm going to go ahead and put in their name. You know what, I'm going to put a spot for the number of customers. And we'll just copy that on over. Okay. So, let's go to my NL function here. If I want to get the name of that salesperson that's associated with that salesperson, where would I go? Which function would I use? Well, that salesperson should have one name, right? That code should be associated with one and only one name.
So you go first?
I'm going to use a first. I'll drop that down and choose first. The table, as I look at my little mock-up over here, it says I need to go to my salesperson purchaser table. Salesperson purchaser table. And the field I want to pull back is their name. But I'm not quite done. Right now, I'm saying go out to the salesperson purchaser table and find the first name you find. Guess what? It's always going to be the same name. Don't hit OK. Pretty sure not all of my salespeople are named Annette Hill. But the reason for that is every time it runs this query, what's the first name in the salesperson table? What's the first name in the salesperson table? What's the first name in the salesperson table? Right? So what we have to do with our data functions is attach it back to our replicator or attach it to something. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, well, where the code is equal to what I find over here in E9. For me, it might be something different. But I'm going to call back to that replicator. And jokingly, a couple other report analysts, I didn't get a chance to put it into my slideshow yet. No equals. If you just E9. We don't want to put it in quotes because then it's going to evaluate out to the value E9. We don't have a salesperson code with E9. So when it's a cell reference, we want to make sure we don't choose the double quotes. Okay? Well, like I said, I was joking with my fellow analyst last week, actually. And I was asking him, like, how do you kind of explain this whole you got to hitch it to something? And he's like, well, I talk about, this is the bus driver here. And these are the passengers, and they got to hop on board the bus and follow the bus driver. I'm like, no, I don't like that one. This is my train engine, because I've got a 5-year-old, and these are the cars. We're going to attach it to the locomotive who's going to drive all those trains across the country. So I actually created a little slide that is completely childish, but it's one of those things that when you see it, people are like, oh yeah, the train, I got it, I'm on board. As he said, yeah, whenever I bring out the bus driver, people remember the bus driver. I've got another analyst who calls double quotes hugs. So she says, we need to put a hug around this. She's like, when I mention hugs, I can tell who I've trained because they talk about hugs. And then, parentheses are group hugs. Okay. All right. So now, because we've made that reference and said, hey, look back at that value, we should get names now. And each one should be different, and they should match up with the initials. So like I said, there's two things I see people do incorrectly with the first. I'm going to show you the second one. The first is we don't apply that filter. The second thing I see people do is lock down a reference.
How?
Absolutely. Right? To E9. What's going to happen now?
Bart Duncan.
Now everybody's named Bart. Because it's saying, hey, look at this cell and bring me back. So anytime you see the same value over and over and over again when you're using it first, make sure you applied the filter and make sure you didn't lock that value down. Okay. So those are the two pitfalls that I see people do.
Now you wouldn't lock down like the column on that scenario?
I could lock down the column,
Okay.
right? I could lock down E and leave 9 available.
Okay.
And that would allow me to copy this across.
Right.
And that might be helpful as we build more complex things. We'll talk about that when we do our data dump because that's where it really shines doing something like that. Okay, so we've got our salesperson name. Now we need our number of customers. So we've got our NL first, so this must be our NL count. Okay. And we need to go to what? It's telling me to go to my customer table. Great, if I leave it at this, count the number of customers I have. Nope. I actually have to apply two filters to this. The first one, well, I gotta hitch it back up to my engineer up at the front. So I'm gonna say, show me count all the customers where the salesperson code is equal to what I have over my replicator in E9.
Sales campaign.
Oh, thank you. I do that every single time. You'd think one of these times I would catch that. Salesperson code is in E9. You might think of what the second filter is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to get different values here. 3, 5, 44, 4, 7, 1, 3. What is this actually showing me? This is showing me the number of customers this salesperson is responsible for. But I'm only listing salespeople that are responsible for non-block customers. It would seem very silly to say, well, these people are responsible for non-block customers, and then count all of their customers. So what I need to do is actually apply that blocked filter to my number of customers as well. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to change this and add blocked. Oops. Is it blocked? There it is. Blocked. I'm going to do allow special characters to do that add at. Right. Only count the customers that are not blocked. So essentially, when we're doing our count unique, and our sum, any filters we apply to our replicator, right, the train engine, we also have to apply to those data functions. We don't have to do this with first. Why? It doesn't matter if the customer is blocked or not. Bart's name is Bart's name. Right? So typically with first, we don't have to apply those filters. We just have to call back to our replicator and say, give me the value that's associated with this. However, our data functions, typically we apply those same exact filters. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. I don't know if I'm actually going to get any different values. Yep. John used to be 44. Now he's 37 because he only has 37 customers that are not blocked. He has 7 people that are blocked in some capacity. So when you build your report, you want to think about that kind of stuff. I typically talk about my summary lists. I think of these as each one individual question. Who are my salespeople that are responsible for customers that are not blocked? What is the name of this salesperson? How many customers is this salesperson responsible for that isn't blocked? Right? So we want to make sure that we apply that consistency.
How come in the count does it, how come it puts the 2 commas, the double commas on there after customer?
Right here?
Yeah.
It's a good question. So let's take a look at that. Let's go back into design mode and take a look at that. Okay. If I look at this, I normally have what, table, and then field. Because I don't have field, it's just putting an empty space for it. Okay. So that's exactly what that's for. Most people don't even notice that.
Most people aren't Paul.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're going to come back and we'll see that again. Okay, so example 2. Let's talk about that. We need to add data functions or formulas to show each vendor's name, phone number, and total of payments that were made in the time period. Okay, so we need to add the vendor name, the phone number, and the total payments. So that vendor name, it says we need to go to the vendor table and we're going to pull the name. Which data function am I going to use for that? First. Okay, so I'm going to use my first. What table? Let's go to my vendor table. And I want to pull back the name. Give me the name. But I got to hitch it to my train engine here and say, well, when the number is equal to what we have over in E9. In this instance, I'm going to hit F4 on my keyboard 3 times to lock down the column. So it's $E9. There's a reason for that. So now I've got the vendor name. Great. Now I need to get the vendor phone number. Which function am I going to use for that?
I'm sorry, what? You press F4 on what?
F4, so when I'm selected on E9 here,
Oh, okay.
I hit F4 3 times. So it should be no dollar signs. If I hit it once, it goes to dollar sign, no dollar sign, dollar sign, no dollar sign. So you can cycle through the various locking of the cell references. So I have an absolute reference, a mixed reference, or a relative reference.
Yours probably isn't doing that, is it?
It is, but I was typing as you
Gotcha.
were doing it, so I didn't know what you were doing.
No, that's totally fine.
Okay.
So first vendor name, where the number is equal to what's in E9 for me. All right. So I heard somebody say we want to use our phone, it's going to be another first.
My table's just went away.
Save your file, close Excel, reopen it, and come back.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Cross your legs.
I left you on it.
So what I can do is, because I locked down this column, it's always going to be an E, I can just copy this on over. Right. I simply just go into my NL function and change the name to phone number. Just save me some typing by locking that reference down. So typically when I'm building a report, even if I don't have to lock a column down, I will lock it down, or if I don't have to lock a row, because you never know, somebody might add something down the line. Can we add this, this, and this? I don't have to retype it all, just copy it over. Make sure my cell references are correct, and we're good to go. So for the phone number, we should have first, vendor, phone number, where the number is in E9.
It's telling me that the filter is not allowed. Empty filter is not allowed.
Are you referencing, yours might not be E9, yours might be something else.
Yeah, got it.
There we go. Let's run it real quick just to see. Yep. I'm a big fan of creating a function or two, running a report, just to make sure you haven't got a pound value that's affecting everything else. Especially your replicators, that's really when you want to test it out and make sure that it's working properly.
Right, my tables are still gone.
Okay. Do you have favorites on?
So,
No.
yes. Yes.
Yes, you do. It's
I
highlighted at the top.
just did it
Okay,
when you
click
said,
it, click it.
I just,
Okay, now unhide, move away.
huh?
Drop it now. There you go.
It wasn't there. When you said to click it, it's gonna hide.
User error.
I agree with it. I agree, and I saw it earlier.
Maybe kicking and not kicking did it.
Here's your cookie.
You,
I was gonna say.
you saw it before, you saw it like that,
I did, and I saw it
right?
again.
All right, so our total payments. What are we going to use for this? Which function? Sum. So let's drop this down and choose sum. And it says, hey, we're going to go to the vendor ledger entry table. So let's vendor ledger entry. And what do we want to sum up? Amount with the $sign or LCY, depending on what yours says. I report all wrong. Makes me mad. And then I've got my filters. So what are my filters for this one?
Posting date and document type.
Posting date, which was the first quarter of 2007, 01, 01, 3107. And document type. What are we checking for? Payments. One more filter.
The vendor number.
The vendor number. Let's call back and make sure we only sum up those ones for that vendor. Call back to our train here. Alright, so we asked the full question. What is the sum of the amounts for the first quarter that were noted as payment for that customer? Or vendor, I should say. Now, what's nice is, if I make some formatting changes in design, right, these are clearly dollars, so I'm going to just go apply that formatting to them. It's going to apply that formatting down the line when we run the report. If I make this a different color,